Well, tonight's guest is Mr. Willis Hicks. His group is FFL Servants. Like I said, he's only been in the business 2 years, and in 2022, issue paid over $1 million in business. He worked at, you know, what's funny is we always look and every time we're hiring people, we always try to find those people that we think are going to be the perfect person to fit into this job. And after talking to Willis today, he worked at UPS for 28 years, retired from UPS, and then went to open up a gym. And then that didn't work out due to COVID. And then he finds Family First Life. And Kali and I were just having a conversation today about growing a business. How does it grow? And I said, you know what, you find that one person in your business that literally changes everything. And Willis would definitely be one of those people. You find yourself a couple Willises and your entire business change. You find someone that can issue pay that kind of business, and it automatically attracts other people into your business. So it doesn't take much more than you just working hard, you not quitting. And if you just keep doing the right thing, the right people will come into your life. So I'm very excited to bring Willis on. I think I saw him on here earlier. Willis, if you're there, you can unmute.
I'm here.
There you go, man. Well, Willis, I appreciate you being on the call. If you could just jump on, kind of give yourself an introduction, your background to everyone, and then kind of let everyone know what it looked like the first year or so you were in the business, and then kind of what you did last year to be able to issue the kind of premium that you put up, because I'm sure a lot of people would love to be able to do a quarter of that.
Yeah. So, hey, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, you know, with what little I share today, that people can find value out of it and, you know, help take their business to the next level. So like Mike said, my name is Willis Hicks. I'm out of Indiana. I worked for UPS for 28 years. I drove the package car and the semi, and I retired out of that as soon as I could because I wanted to help people. And so I had a little bit of a background in fitness. So I got into fitness and nutrition training, and that was really fun. It was going really good. There's not a whole lot of money in it, you know. And then COVID happened and it shut everybody down, and I had to find something different. So when I found Family First Life, I was literally just looking for a job that I could make $500-600 a week. That was it. That's all I wanted. Wow. And I would have been good. And then the first couple insurance companies that I applied with and tried to get jobs with, they actually turned me down. And Family First Life gave me a shot, and here I am. And it's been a great run ever since. So
that's awesome. Willis, what did it look like? I mean, coming from the background that you did, how did that look in the beginning? Like in terms of buying leads, how did you get up and running? Like what were you doing week one or the month one?
So I wasn't afraid to buy leads, that's for sure, because in my fitness business, I had learned how to do a little bit of Facebook marketing, and I was already spending money on Facebook to generate leads for my gym. So I was like, okay, so, you know, if I spend money, I can get more people in front of me to talk to. So this makes sense. And so I didn't make a sale for like my first 3 weeks. I had no clue what I was doing. I was watching all the videos and taking all the notes, but I really wasn't sure how to put it all together. And then, like I said, it took about 3 weeks for me to make my first sale. And I was winding my gym business down. So I was taking all the money that I had in that account and I was buying leads. And so the manager that I was with and working with at the time, who really didn't know what he was doing either, he's like, just buy everything. And I was like, sounds good to me. So I literally, this is crazy. My first 4 weeks in the business, I spent like 21,000 in leads. I kept going to different lead vendors and ordering 20, 30, 40 leads from them. And I would wait. And like 2-3 days later, I had like 1 or 2 leads. I'm like, this isn't working. So I'd go to another lead vendor. So at the end of the month, I realized like I'd spent all the money that I had, which was not very much, honestly, like 20 grand, like I said. And I had very few leads, but the leads that I did actually start to sell and close, I had a bunch of different like spreadsheets for the different lead companies. And then I found out what company that I actually was having the most luck with setting appointments. And so that's how I really took off. And then after that, like my first full month, I was able to do like 28K. And I didn't make a sale for like 2.5, 3 weeks.
So was that 3 weeks you didn't sell, and then that following month, all the leads that you had purchased had come in, and that's when you were able to do that kind of business?
yeah, some of the lead vendors that I did order from, they came in really quick, but it was like at the end of like that week, you know. So like the first 2 weeks, there was like nothing. I was calling what few leads I had. And then like at the end of the second week, I started getting a bunch of leads, and it was actually pretty easy to set the appointments. I was like, wow, like this is crazy. Like this lead vendor here was really easy for me to work. So I just started doubling down on that lead vendor and getting more leads and sitting in front of more people. And like I literally started running, like probably after my third week, I was running 8 to 10 appointments a day every day.
Wow.
Because I went through those first few homes, and you know, I would be in there for 2 to 3 hours trying to figure things out. And then after I got it figured out, it's like, okay, I can get it down to like an hour and a half. And so I just started setting 8 appointments because of all the no-shows and porches and stuff. And then I moved that up to 10 appointments a day.
Willis, so many people in the business. Well, first of all, if you go 3 weeks and don't make a sale, that right there, many people just walk away and quit. But then also too, when they go to a home and they may be in there for a couple of hours trying to figure it out like you did, and they quit, what was it inside of you that said, all right, I'm not selling anything for 3 weeks. I just dropped 21 grand, made no money. What inside of you had you keep going to know that this would work out for you?
So I didn't believe everything about FFL when they first offered me like the job to work with them. I'm like, that's awesome. Well, then I started seeing more and hearing more about it, and I heard the numbers that people were doing, and I was like, there's no way this is remotely close or accurate. So, but as long as I make $500 or $600 a week, I'm good. So I took about 3 to 4 weeks to go through the course. I was going through it pretty slow, and there happened to be a sales conference in Chicago, and I drove up to that sales conference because I wanted to see like firsthand what I was getting into at that point. And there was like a room of 200 people, probably 150 people at least, and Sean Mike was there.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think it was Sean that actually did it. He had everybody stand up in the room, and he said, okay, and everybody's wearing, you know, nice suits and dresses, and here I am with just a button-up t-shirt. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm totally in the wrong room. But he's like, if you guys have paid more than 10K a month, stay standing. Like everybody stay standing. And he's like, okay, if you've done more than 20,000 a month, stay standing. A few people sat down, and he went 20, 30, 40, 50. And there was like so many people still standing up. I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's no way they're putting on a show for me. This has to be real. And so I went home after that conference, and I finished that test, you know, the course in like a couple of days, and took my test. And I was like, I knew that it had to be real. Mm-hmm. And that if you write a policy, you know, and it's $1,000 and you're going to get 700 or 800, I was like, okay, I know this will work. And it's awesome because I get to help people, you know? So I was like, I just needed to hang in there until I got it figured out. And I knew that if I just kept going, that I would figure it out.
Got it. Who was that lead vendor, and what type of leads were they?
It was Game Time lead.
Got it. I remember Game Time. Yeah. Colleen and I were just talking about those leads the other day.
And they're still good. I mean, they're still good. They're still good.
That's awesome.
So,
the story that you shared at conference, how often, Willis, do you bring that into the home when you're meeting with your clients?
You know, at first I didn't do it at all. And I was getting,
you know, some people on here probably weren't at conference. Can you kind of share a little bit of that background?
Yeah. So, you know, when I was 27, I had been married for, you know, several years, and me and my wife, we had 2 little boys. And you know, when my youngest son was a month old, they diagnosed my wife with cancer, and she lived 100 days and she died.
Wow.
So I was a mess for quite a while, actually. Like,
I can imagine.
But you know, like what I shared at conference, what a lot of people didn't know was a month before they diagnosed my wife with cancer, I literally had the insurance man sitting in my house. And I told him that, you know, And it was ridiculous and expensive policy for me and my wife. He was trying to get life insurance on us. I was like, I'm good. I got work insurance. But let me think about it, right?
Yeah.
Because I was actually his UPS man. So I had to see him every day. I went to his office anyways. I was like, we're going to think about it and talk about it and get back to you. Well, I didn't want to spend the money because I was cheap, just being cheap. And I thought I was young and invincible. And then a month later, they literally diagnosed her with cancer and she died and we lost everything. So,
Wow.
at that point, I was like, I want to have more of an impact, on people's lives. And I want to help people. So that's how I got into wanting to help people and serve other people. And so that's how I got into fitness and nutrition because, I didn't have a degree. I didn't know what else to do, so I was always into fitness. So that's how I got into that. And that's why, like, once I got into this, I was like, man, this is way better than fitness. And I can actually make a living and not, be broke.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that all happened.
Wow. So at first you said you weren't sharing that story when you went into the homes. Is it
Right.
something you
No. Yeah, I wasn't. And then I was getting a lot of pushback with people saying, hey, I want to think about it. And, I need to talk to, my neighbor and my kids and everybody else. And I was just like, look, so I started sharing my story and it really started making a big impact on people. I was like, like this is really helping me. And, you always hear, the old saying, like, facts tell, stories sell. So I always share my story because it would have helped me and my family so much. So if you don't have a story, I don't know if you believe in God or not, but I do. We're all brothers and sisters. You can literally use my story as my brother. This happened to my brother, or find anybody else out there that has a really super strong story and use that story because, every sale that is ever made, all sales are emotional, whether you're buying new shoes or a new car or a life insurance policy. It's an all emotional sell. So, to get these families to get to their why and really help bring out their emotions, like I do share that with them. And it does wear me out sharing that, but it really helps people. So I share that every time, every house I go into now, I share that story.
It's powerful. And I think more than anything, it kind of really brings to light how important it is what we do. And I think a lot of times when people come here, everyone comes in just for the money. I don't want to say everyone, but a lot of people, they come in just for the money and until I think maybe you get that first death claim and then you truly realize how important it is what we do. And then I think that's at the point when things begin to change. Would you agree with that? When you realize what we do is more than just the money?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would do this for free because of how much it helps people. I'm just so grateful that we make really good money doing it too. Like I said, I would have done it for $500-600 a week.
That's what you were looking for. Wow.
So, yeah.
What right now, Willis, I guess, has your schedule differed much from what it is now versus what it was back then when you first were getting started?
Yeah. So when I first started, I didn't work Sundays at all. I just worked the traditional Monday through Saturday. And then I kind of fell in love with this, like literally fell in love with this business and getting out and seeing people. So I wanted to do more. And so I started working 7 days a week. And the cool thing about this is like we own our own business. So I can literally take any time off that I want, any amount of time off that I want. But I have some pretty big goals. So I do this 7 days a week because I truly enjoy it. And it's just awesome.
How many appointments? Let's go back to year one, because obviously last year was amazing. Let's go back to year one. How many appointments were you running a week year one?
I was probably running about 40 after about that first, 4 to 6 weeks. I started running about 40 a week.
Okay. And you said your first full-time month, you did 28,000?
Yeah.
And then every month after that for the rest of the year, what kind of numbers were you putting up?
I always hit 50. I was always like between like 50 and 60 every month consistently. And it was crazy because like even after doing that for 3, 4, 5, 6 months in a row, when somebody would tell me like, I need to think about it, I'm just not sure, yada, yada, yada. like if the weather was really, really bad, like I would just have to go and sit in like a grocery store parking lot and just like decompress so I wouldn't take it in the next house. And I was always questioning my ability, like, can I even do this? Like, am I going to be good at this? And I'd already did 50,000 a month for several months in a row, and I still had doubts. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I just knew that like I just kept pushing through, just kept pushing.
The way you say 50, it's like people people want to do 20 and 50 is no big deal to you. What were you able to do to what did it take to go from to be a $100,000 producer from a 50,000? What'd you have to do to double that production?
Yeah, so it was really leads. Honestly, I needed more leads. So, and I knew that I need to get better at making sure that the business would issue. You know, because I was writing a lot of policies that I didn't know if they were if the clients were going to get them. Like they totally wouldn't qualify for like term, but they wanted a big policy, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to get you what you want. And
Yeah.
then I'd put it through and then go, and then, a week later, 3 days later, whatever, you find out like, well, it didn't go through. So I had to get better at making sure like my policies actually covered the families and also more leads.
And that's all it took. So a couple big nuggets there, Willis. I mean, a lot of people, they probably think twice about going to a convention, going to a conference. It seemed like that changed everything for you. And then also we talk about it every day, the importance of leads. And all you did was you doubled your lead flow and that doubled your production.
Yeah. And then I did pick up an extra day because like for me in this business, momentum is huge.
Yeah.
So whenever I would take off Sundays and come back and dial, I would dial Sunday nights, but like I wouldn't run business. And then I would dial Sunday night and Monday to set up my Tuesday, Wednesday. It's just like, it just seemed like I was out of the groove the first few appointments.
Mhm.
So the more I did it, when I did start picking up 7 days a week, like I'm constantly in a flow. And like last year, I only had 2 odd weeks where I didn't perform at a super high level. And both times it was because I took 2 or 3 days off to go do something.
Mhm.
And I would come back. It would take me 2 to 3 days to kind of get back in the flow again, to get my groove going again. And so momentum is huge here. So I just like staying in the groove.
Wow. What does your schedule look like now? What days are you in the field?
So I try to run appointments every day. Like I try to run appointments every day. So I'll usually try to run 2 or 3 appointments on a Monday or Thursday night if I can set them. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like I'm in the field. And like
Got it.
there's so many holidays, and so I take all the major holidays off. I usually take 2 weeks off throughout the year for vacations with my family, but like I can literally work everything in throughout the day. If I have an appointment for a doctor or I want to go and do something, or I got a lunch appointment or something, like I can work all that in my schedule. So I just work all the time. So
Wow. Your work ethic. I mean, is this the way you worked at UPS? Were you working 7 days a week when you were working there?
so no, they only did 5 days a week. Occasionally you'd have a 6 day a week, but I always hated working for somebody, especially when you get, a manager that's just, I don't, for whatever reason, not happy in life and they kind of like to be a bully and, take on people, give people a hard time, constantly threaten you with your job. And I just never liked having people tell me when I could take a lunch or go to the bathroom or what time I have to be at work and what time I didn't. So when I had the opportunity to work for myself and build a business for myself and my family, it's like, dude, I'll do this all day, every day, So
Can you break down, Willis, some of your in-home presentation? How long is it and kind of what does it look like? What's the structure look like when you walk into a house?
So, I don't build any rapport at all. Like, so, we hear all the time, doctor patient. I go in there very professional, like I am the doctor, like, hey, I'm here for, it doesn't matter if it's a mortgage protection appointment or life insurance appointment. That's the only thing that changes my presentation at the door. hey,
Okay.
Mike, I'm here for the life insurance appointment, or hey, Mike, I'm here for the mortgage protection appointment. And they're like, okay, shoes on or off. And I go in and, they're always like, hey, you can sit over here. I'm like, nope, I need a table. I need to get some notes on you guys real quick. And they're like, oh, okay. And I go to the table and I just jump into my presentation and what we're going to do. It's like, okay, this is who I am. This is why I'm here. This is what we're going to do. Make sense? And they're always like, yeah, it makes sense. I don't try to do any chit chat. I used to do that, and that's when I'd be in the house forever, and then they'd take control, and it was just a mess.
Yeah.
So I watched so many videos on YouTube through Family First Life of all the top producers. Like you gotta have a structure, you gotta take control. And I was like, shit, I'm gonna try this.
Okay.
And the more I did it, the better I got at it. And now I just roll in there and just take control right away.
How long,
Go ahead.
how long are you in there for now? In an appointment?
I can be in an appointment usually anywhere from, it's funny, I'm sitting in this hotel parking lot talking to you guys, and I literally just had this cop pull in and sit behind me. So but he looks like he's leaving, so maybe he's gonna not give me a hard time. But usually anywhere from a half an hour to an hour, depending on how many carriers I have to go through, because they forgot to tell us about this medication or this health issue. That always happens, right? And so anywhere from a half an hour to an hour, I'll be at home.
Got it. The biggest objection I think a new agent gets, and I get calls on it every day, is at the end of their presentation, they get I want to think about it. What do you find yourself doing in an appointment when you get that objection? How do you overcome it?
You know what? I honestly don't get that too much anymore.
What is it that you change to prevent that objection from coming up?
So I usually get their why out of them. Like I get like the surface why up front, like why I'm there, mortgage protection, make sure, right? Or the life insurance, make sure your kids don't have to pay for it, or make sure your family has a place to live, right? And they're like, right. And then right before, I'll show them the numbers, I'll be like, so Mike, so now you told me that what you were looking for is some coverage to make sure that the mortgage will be protected so your family doesn't lose the house, right? And you'll be like, right. And I'll be like, okay, so all of these options would work the same way for you. When something happens to you, this would take care of this for you. Which one of these would work best? There's no, I need to think about it on there. And if they do, I need to think about it. I'll be like, look, Mike, this is what we're going to do. Because you don't ask the doctor, you don't tell the doctor you're sick and then tell him, when he says, hey, Willis, we're going to go ahead and try this medication, you don't say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. You don't do that. You just say yes. So, I always show 3 options. And, usually if it's a single person, it's just them. If it's their wife or their husband there, they kind of slide it back and forth and talk to each other. And if they try to tell me that, we don't know, we need to think about it, whatever. I'm like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. Because we know that you guys need this coverage for when something happens. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the smallest one. And then if we can get you qualified and approved for that, then we can always come back later and make adjustments. But let's see if we can get your family protected with this. And that's what I do. I just tell them, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start with this one, see if we can get you guys qualified and approved for it. And if you can, we can always come back later and make adjustments. And
So
then they're like, okay.
In the beginning, when you were not doing 100,000 a month, maybe doing 50, were you not as assertive as you are now? Is that kind of why your numbers were about half?
Yeah, for sure. I would always try to be like, well, what's there to think about? What do you need to think about?
Yeah.
And then we get in this back and forth. You don't want to get into a back and forth with them where you're questioning, their decision or challenging them at all. So now I just tell them, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start with this one. It's always the smallest one on the paper. So they're, okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Right. And so now probably, I'd say I haven't tracked the number in a long time because I kind of quit tracking that one. But I would say it's maybe 1 in 40 or 1 in 50 where they'll really push hard back on that one.
Wow.
And that's pretty good. I can live with that.
You're just taking a lot of time up front before you even show prices to figure out and explain this is what you're going to do and figure out why they want it, what they need. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll get the why out of them again, really the big why out of them again, right before I show them the prices. Because if you tell me that you want to make sure that your kids don't have to pay for the funeral, and then I show you some options and you try to tell me you got to think about it, it's like, Mike, you just told me that you don't have anything in place and you don't want your kids to have to pay for this, right? Right. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start with the smallest one and see if we can get you qualified, get you approved. If we can, right, you can go through your budget, even though we just went through your budget.
Yeah.
You can go through it more, and then, we can come back, and when it makes sense for you and you feel like you have more money, then we can always increase it later. But at least let's get this on you for now, so that way you guys have something if we can get this for you. And they're like, okay, that makes sense.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to open it up to some questions. If anyone has any specific questions for Willis, I mean, we got $1 million a year producer here. I want to see if anyone has any specific questions for him.
Hey, Mike, I do.
Actually, I'll let Kelly go first. All right.
Hey, okay. Thanks, Mason. Thank you, Willis, for taking time out of your day to speak with us. We really appreciate it. I got like 2 questions. So my first one is, and you might have said this, but how much are you spending a week on leads currently?
Probably $300 to $3,500 a week.
A week, okay.
Yeah.
And then how much are you submitting each week with spending that much a week on leads?
So I'll usually submit somewhere around 40
Okay, for the month?
for the week.
For the week? Oh, shit. Damn. Okay, that's a hell of a return on investment, that's for sure.
Yeah, if I can just get it all to issue.
Yeah, that's dope. And then I forgot my second question, so I'll let Mason go ahead. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I was going to ask, someone actually asked in the comments here too, are you recruiting and building an agency as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am.
So here's the main thing, and here's why I didn't want to go back to the home at first. So how do you build an agency when you're out in the field so often?
So I have a staff that I've hired. So making this much money allows me to have a staff that helps me do all that heavy lifting. And then when we find somebody that we think could be a good fit, then I'll talk to them.
Oh, wow. So
I'm still trying to figure it out.
Right. Well, it kind of seems like the key. Do you also have like a dialer or something else in place so you can get out in the field so often?
I do use a dialer on my old leads, and I will caution everybody on this. Dialers, they are not that great. I'm just going to tell you, no one's ever going to set an appointment as good as you. So on the leads that I don't care as much about, like my final expense mailers that I get out of the CRM and some of my 1 months, if I go to an area and I don't have enough, I buy those and I'll have a dialer beat just those up. Because if they only get me 5 read appointments, like I'm okay with it. I don't have a whole lot of money into it. But when it comes to your fresher, better leads that you're buying, that you're really spending a lot of money on, you have to do those yourself, or you're just throwing, money in the fire pit. So.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Thank you
I
very
got a
much.
question. Oops, sorry.
Sure.
There you go.
Douglas, what's your question?
Oh, what's your average cost on your leads? Your individual lead, what's your average cost per lead?
So I buy so many different ones. So I'll buy the $4 ones, the $8 ones. I'll buy the $25 ones, and I'll buy the $80 ones. So I use a mix. I use new mortgage, old mortgage, game time, final expense mailers, 1, 2, 3 months. And if I don't have enough, then I'm going to buy the 1 month internet leads.
Hey, Willis, if you don't mind me asking, would you suggest a newer agent buying cheaper leads? Like, especially if they don't have a ton of money to start out with, buying cheaper leads would be like a good idea, or like, is that worth their time? Or?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you're going to get better on the phone and it allows you to get more reps for sure. But if you guys are trying to, me personally, what I think, if you're trying to buy cheaper leads, like the 1, 2, 3 month mortgage and the 1, 2, 3 month final expense, those are anywhere from like $4 to $7 a piece. Like that's about as cheap as it gets. I mean, we do have some $4 leads, but you can get those leads for that price.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hey, Willis.
Ryan Urbanski, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on? Willis, I appreciate your time tonight, opening up, with your story. I think that's powerful. I know wasn't probably easy to do, but I do want to say thank you for that. Dude, you're an inspiration, man. You're throwing big numbers up. Everybody wants to get to that level. I know it's a lot of work. Do you do a mix of in-home and telesales, or you primarily focus on one thing versus the other?
Yeah, so I just do at home. I'm trying to figure out the telesales piece of it. So I'm getting close to where I think I'm going to be able to crack that one. And then I'd probably be in the office a couple days a week doing telesales. But I haven't done it yet. I haven't got that one cracked. I've tried a few and my skill level's not there yet. But it's just like anything. The more you do it, and I have so many areas and so many leads that I'm just on the move until I can get it figured out. And once I get it figured out, it'll allow me to be in one place more.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, Willis, got a quick question for you as well. So a little bit newer to being in the field, being in homes. And like you said, you're always going to try to get someone qualified for the best coverage. Now, when you have to go through 2, 3, 4, 5 carriers, and obviously the next one that you keep going to, just gets more expensive. How do you kind of handle that? Because it's like, oh, this one's say 100 a month. Oh, now it's going to go up to 130. Oh, now it's 150, just kind of spiral. So how do you handle that exactly?
So a really big cheat code that I use for that is I use the final expense toolkits. And if you guys don't have that, you should, because that helps a lot.
Yeah.
And if I know that they have a good shot of going term, I will run them through Americo first just to see if they're going to qualify first. Because I used to do that a lot, and it's terrible when you have to, at the end of the day, you try to sell them a term product for $200,000 at $200 a month. And then you got to come back and say, well, I can't get you 200,000, but I can get you 30,000 for $200 a month. And they're like, forget it, So I'll try Americo to see if they're going to go through. And if they don't, then I really start digging in deeper to like, what kind of other medications have you been taking the past 7, 8 years? Obviously, there's something going on here. And then if I'm still not sure, I'll use Prosperity, New Vista. And if they say that they're going to go level, then it's like, okay, now I know that I can, I'm going to have a whole life product. I know Prosperity is going to take them for sure. So if I want to go like an Americo or a Mutual Omaha or any of the other carriers, I still can, and it can be really close in that ballpark of what they may be paying.
Got it. So just to clarify, before you even quote them price, you take them through Americo to do like the health underwriting just to see before you start throwing out numbers.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Always America
Will-
first.
Hey,
I have a
Willis, how you doing?
question. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm after you.
Okay. Hey, Willis, how you doing today? Everything, real inspirational. I appreciate everything you've been doing. I had a quick question about chargebacks, how you keep policy in the books for long term, and do you do anything to leave behind, anything that you do at the end of the appointment for them to stay on the books? And second, do you attack your warm market, and do you do any advanced sales like annuities and any of them sorts?
I've only done like maybe 2 annuities. They're a pain in the ass, I think personally. Maybe they're not. If you guys are good at annuities, I still haven't gotten that one quite figured out yet. So I still need help with annuities. So I'm still trying to figure that one out. But chargebacks, I don't worry about chargebacks at all. I just keep working. But the biggest thing I do to avoid the chargebacks is after I'm completely done and all wrapped up, like I'll tell the client, I'll be like, hey, look, now, if you get this policy or when you get this policy, we know we're going to tell them right then and there. I come with this policy, so I'm going to work for you until either, you die or I die. So every year I'm going to come back. I'm going to check in on you and your family. If we need to make any adjustments, we can make them then. But you can call me anytime throughout the year, right? Or text me, whatever you need to do. And then I always take the picture with them and I say, hey, look, I'm going to take this picture with you. I'm going to save it on my phone. That way, if you call me or text me, I know it's you, and vice versa. Especially if something happens to you, I want to have a memory of us protecting your family. And they're like, oh my gosh, which is true because that's why we're there. So I feel that that helps a lot. Like my persistency, depending on what carrier, is somewhere between 85 to 90%.
Wow.
I want it, I want it to be a lot better than that. It was obviously higher than that when I first started, but it's like, it's always one of those works in progress. Like I'm trying to get better at it. So it is what it is. I do not worry about chargebacks. It's part of the business. Just keep moving
Appreciate
forward.
you. Appreciate you, man.
We got a lot of people.
Thank you.
We got a lot of people here, Willis. They're so wrapped up in wanting to learn all the advanced markets and everything else before they learn the easy stuff. And you've kind of proven that you don't need to do all that stuff. Do what's easy first, and then you can do the others. So, Corinne, it's all you.
Yes, thank you for your time. I have a question. So I know you said you're still trying to figure out the telesales thing. Are you doing any traveling and closing business in other states, or are you just local?
I do a travel trip every week. I go to where leads are. So like I literally chase leads because if I stay in my area, I will exhaust that in about 2 weeks. So I like to move around. I like to get out and travel anyways. So, my kids are a little older. It's a little easier, but I always, from about probably my second month in, I realized like I'm smoking this area. Like I'm really squeezing this area for the leads that I had at the time and wanted to get. Like I couldn't get enough of them. So I'll look up a big city that's within a couple hours. I target that city, and then I'll either go there every weekend and do my local market Tuesday, Wednesday, and go to the big city on the weekend. And then I did that for a long time, and that worked great. Like that worked awesome. And then I was like, what happens if I go to a big city and I can stay in a big city for a week? So now I go to a big city every week.
Thank you.
I love it. It's so fun, but that's for me. Yeah.
Wow. There was a question in the chat. Will's asked about what's your average AP per deal that you close?
I want to say I'm probably about 2,000, probably.
$2,000. Okay. And
Yeah.
I think you also asked, how many appointments are you running a day? I think you said 8, right? 8 a day?
Well, I try to put 10 on the books every day. I try to put 10 on the books. Well, I should say 5 days a week. I try to do 10,
Got
5
it.
days a week.
Okay.
It doesn't always work. Some days I have 5, some days I have 10. It's just whatever I can get, I get.
Okay.
Question.
Yes.
Hey guys, first of all, good evening. Okay, so let me ask you, are you doing any type of marketing for insurance? And if you're doing marketing, how are those leads coming in for you outside of just calling leads and going to the home and stuff like that?
Yeah. So me personally, I don't. And I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that's a waste of time because it's so easy for us just to go buy leads from all the different vendors we have. I want to make it as easy as possible. And I've done marketing before in my fitness business, and that takes a lot of work. And I don't want to put all that extra work in. And I don't think it's worth it, honestly. It just takes too many hours. I need to be sitting in front of people or on the phone with people. That's me personally, though.
One question for me, one more. How many vendors do you use when you buy leads? You say you don't want to go through many vendors and you try to keep it simple. How many vendors do you normally go through?
I'm probably using about 6 different ones, but like 3 of them are through our CRM. So,
Yeah.
We'll
go ahead and wrap it up. Any parting shots you can give out to anyone, any new people? What's the best advice you can give to new agents or veteran agents that want to kind of get up to your level?
Yeah. So, well, if you want to produce at a high level, I would say you should work at minimum 6 days a week, if not 7, to kind of build up your skill. You definitely should buy more leads than you need, because the more leads you buy, it's just really the bigger your paycheck's going to be, the more people you're going to help. It's that simple. And then always be plugging into, like, I'm always on YouTube in between appointments, listening to trainings that I missed, trying to find something, just one little piece that I can put in my presentation somewhere to make it better. And the biggest thing is just to believe that I am nothing special. I'm not. Like, you can do the same thing I do. If you spent the money that I spent and you worked the hours that I worked, you can all do this. So as long as you don't quit and you keep working really hard, you're going to get better and you're going to get better.
Awesome. There you go. Well, I appreciate it, Willis. Thank you. If you ever need anything, please reach out. Everyone,
Yeah.
let's make it a great week. Willis, thank you very much.